Welcome back to season 3 of the Inspired Podcast. We're so excited that you've chosen to listen with us. We have so many great topics this season, and we cannot wait to get started in discussing. But today, I'm joined by Megan and Janice, and we are diving into a really scary topic called echo chambers. Echo chambers are so prevalent in our society today, and so we kind of go through and talk about how do we handle them? What is the right approach? Am I really wrong or am I really right? There's so many questions that go into talking about an echo chamber, and we really dive in to some great discussion today, so listen in. Welcome back to Inspired Podcast Season 3. Season 3.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
I know. I'm super excited to be here. On my right, I have Janice, and on my left, I have Megan.
Yes.
And I'm Jessica. We're excited that you're joining us today. We are super excited about this season.
Oh my gosh.
Last season, we got so much feedback from last season. The topics that we were talking about. I think the most listened to one was toxic relationships, which is not surprising.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so I think what you guys showed us through your listening is that you actually want to hear about hard topics that are hard for us to discuss. Yep. I mean, I feel like out of all of them, that was probably the one that was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I think it's because we're all living through some of these things. And so many times I know I feel like if I'm going to say anything out loud about it, then I should have it all taken care of in my life.
Yeah.
And that's just not the case.
Yeah, for sure.
And what I've found through that is that in wrestling with that is that God wants to use some of my weaknesses to make him bigger. And so I think that with some of these topics, with all of these topics, hopefully this season, we're going to see that. And you should know as you're listening and watching, which by the way, we're back on video.
Oh yeah.
Woo! We took a little season off to not do video, but now we're back because it's way better to be able to engage and see faces and reactions. And I just think it's a lot better.
What I want to know is, you know how when you listen to someone and you only listen to them, you get that mental picture of them,
of who they
and
are.
you wonder what they are. And now people who've done that and they see us, they're going to be going like,
everyone,
she looked like that.
Everyone submit your sketches of what you thought we looked like.
Yeah. So we're back on video, and this season's just going to be super fun. But before we dive into what we're doing this season, what has happened really since we took a little bit of a hiatus between season 2 and season 3? Inspired world-wise. Okay.
Inspired world-wise. We have summer circles open, and I'm pumped for them. 6 weeks, you can still join. And I'm just so excited. My last Inspired Circle was amazing. We had women all different ages, all different backgrounds, perspectives, and it was just so fun together.
Yes. And it's going to be great because we're going to be doing a Bible study on 1 Corinthians. And not only that, there's no book to buy. It's all on an app. It's it's something you can do on your own and then come back together when you meet with your group. It's going to be great.
Yes. WordGo is the app that we are doing the Inspired Circles with. And it's so helpful. It's got like what I love about it, just to, kind of talk through it. It's got like a 4-tier approach to where we are doing it on our own. Like we're reading the passage every week and then we're answering questions over it. And then we gather together with groups and we discuss what we're learning. And then afterwards, there's like this whole note section, and there's also a little sermonette to listen to that kind of dives through and digs into like the culture that behind that scripture and verse. And so it is really, it's just really amazing because you comb through all 4 of those things every week. And so it's really great to find ways to seep into your heart. So that's what I really love about WordGo. And that's what we're using for these Inspired Circles. But there is still time to sign up for one. If you haven't, you can go to our website, thex.church, and you can find circles and sign up for a circle. And all of the times available are listed there. And like you said, Megan, it's multi-generational, which is my favorite part, because sometimes I feel like we want to get in circles and groups with people that are in our life stage. And I feel like it's helpful. Mm-hmm. But what I love about getting together with women that are all different ages is that I learn so much more, because there's people in front of you in life and there's people behind you in life in regards to experience. Yeah. And there's so much to learn. Yeah. So
we had a lot of, and what I loved about our circle is we went even beyond the Bible study application. We talked about just how it applies in our normal everyday lives. Mm-hmm. And so for me, it was super helpful to just hear from other people, like, what you're feeling is okay. Here's how I got through it. And I thought there's a lot of wisdom and there's a lot of forgiveness and just acceptingness, that's the word? Yes. From everyone in that circle. And I just thought it was amazing. It was very low pressure too. It wasn't like you had to show up with all your notes that I usually have.
That I usually have in my journal.
And I thought it was so good.
Yeah. So there's still time to sign up for a circle. You're going to want to get help in that. And then we've also launched our conference registration.
I know, yay!
October 1st.
October 1st, ladies.
Yes, if you do not have that on your calendar yet, you're going to want to put it on there right now. And along with conference registration, we have a 10% discount code for you if you want. We came out with these really fun things called Inspired Boxes.
Mm-hmm. They're so cute.
And they are really just a box with a whole bunch of goodies in it. Mm-hmm. And they are on sale at our shop. And they're $30. They have like cute inspired sunglasses. They have a devotional book. They have Bible tabs. They have Bible highlighters. They have like hair ties, fun stuff.
Love
all the fun things.
Oh, don't forget, the eye patches and the
the
like mask.
What is it, like a gold sheet mask, face mask? Woo. Because we all need one of those.
Yeah,
self-care.
Self-care.
We talked about that.
Yeah, we did talk about that last season.
Self-care is registering for the conference.
Yes,
that's right.
Yeah, soul care, soul care.
Yes,
soul self-care.
Yes. Soul self, all care, total care.
And there's a 10% discount code in there. Mm-hmm. So you're going to want to get that. We only have a few left. I checked this morning.
And if you want to order one online, you can do that through in the shop on the church website.
Sweet.
So,
yeah. So, I mean, that's really what's been going on in the inspired world.
So fun. I've heard a lot of people talk to me about the podcast in like the foyer and just out in public when I see them, and they have missed it. Like we have everything we talk about, they just want more of it. And so I'm super excited.
Yeah, here we are.
That this is also an update on Inspired. So we're back.
We're kicking off season 3 and we've got some really exciting things. But starting with, this past Sunday, or a couple Sundays ago, sorry, we have, we talked about echo chambers.
Oop. Yeah, that was very good. Yeah. I thought that it was convicting in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. And I just was not expecting it. Like, it was one of those sermons you're just not expecting. And I thought it was delivered very well and just very applicable to society today. Yeah.
So echo chambers, meaning like we surround ourselves with, like you pulled up a definition, didn't you? Mm-hmm. Why don't you go ahead and read that?
It says that it's an environment in which a person encounters only beliefs or opinions that coincide with their own, so that their existing views are reinforced and alternative ideas are not considered.
Yeah. I think that last part's really
that's the important part. Because you think about it, I was thinking about this morning. It's that old thing about birds of a feather flock together, that we tend to do that. That's one thing. But when you do that to the exclusion, of anything else or hearing anyone else, that's an echo chamber.
Yeah. And I think it's really difficult because it's our nature to flock with birds of the same feather. Yeah. Like, it is what we feel comfortable doing.
Yeah.
And echo chambers are so tricky because as you add bricks and you build that echo chamber around you, you need an outside source to speak in and tell you that you're in an echo chamber. Yeah. And it's against our nature to accept that.
I think it's against our nature because we all, deep down inside of us, every single one of us have a want and a need to belong. We have some innate, intrinsic something in us that wants to belong and be a part of a community. And I feel like that's because God designed us that way. I think that our sinful nature and our selfish desires can like make us flock to a person or a group of people and find, oh, I belong here, or I'm understood here, or I'm accepted here. And then so we stand there and we build there, and then we realize that what we're building leaves out and cuts other perspectives out. And sometimes those perspectives can be some of the most important perspectives that we need to grow.
Yeah.
But we don't want to hear them, because in those perspectives that are contrary to ours, we don't feel like we belong.
Yeah. And I think it almost, when it comes to growth, I think that echo chambers can even provide like a false sense of growth. I feel like when you're in your echo chamber,
yes,
and your thoughts and your opinions are being reinforced, you feel like, I would perceive that as self-growth. Like, I am gaining insight, I'm gaining wisdom, like this has been right my entire life, like now it's being validated. But that is not growth. Like you said, without those alternate perspectives or opinions that you just completely cut out, how can you grow if you're in the same echo chamber the entire time? But I think we get a false sense of growth that leads us astray, and it just reinforces the whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, and it's really uncomfortable when your paradigm is challenged. It's really uncomfortable to come face to face with, whether it's, an injustice that's going on, or someone who has an opinion that is so incredibly different from yours.
Yeah.
And they're just as passionate about theirs as you are about yours. And, it starts to shake your foundation, what you've been believing.
Yeah.
Because, you're either going to just totally shut them out and not even consider it.
Yeah.
Which is really foolish. Or even when you start to listen, then it makes you uncomfortable, because it's like, maybe I never thought of that. Or they're a person. The danger, I think, is that we can tend to look at those people and not see them really.
Yeah.
And not really see them as people who have considered how they believe, that they have feelings, that they are people and all that. And instead we just look at their ideology, or we look at what their, opinions are, and that's all we see.
Yeah.
And we depersonalize them because they are opposite in some way to what we're believing, because we know we're right. And I think that was the thing on Sunday. For those of you who didn't hear the message on Sunday, you can go to our website, because Jess preached the house down.
Yeah.
But I think it was the idea of that we think we're right.
Yeah.
It's just in us to think we're right.
Well, and that if you don't agree with the fact that I'm right, you're wrong.
Right. Yes.
And you could not possibly understand until you see that I'm right.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as you get it through your head that the way I do things is the right way, then like your eyes will be opened to all good things in the world.
I know.
And it's like, I say that because I get in the, like,
I know.
Oh my gosh. And it's so easy. Like, you don't even realize that my fiance listens to all of these, and he's going to crack up, because this is the first time I've publicly announced this. But my favorite thing to do is, I've gotten a lot better at apologizing than I used to. Like, I used to just never want to apologize.
I don't even in my vocabulary.
Wasn't like,
sorry, what?
No. Yeah. I'm like, I'm really sorry you feel that way. Like, it was always, I'm sorry you. And now I've gotten a lot better at apologizing for the damage that I've caused, or the emotions that I've stirred up in someone. But I struggle to keep myself from talking that person into, well, I think you perceived it this way. And if it were perceived in the way that I intended, I don't think you would have gotten upset. And Jordan will be like, Megan, you're doing the thing again. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. And it takes me like my first instinct is just to plead with the person and say like, please just understand where I was coming from, because then you wouldn't be upset with me. Mm-hmm. And that's just not what people want to hear. That's not what men's relationships. It's not what solves conflict. It's what makes me feel better, because at the end of the day, I tell myself that I didn't do anything wrong necessarily. It was just perceived in a way that the other person didn't appreciate, you know? And so for me, it's a constant reminder of, well, if the common denominator is that other people are perceiving me in a way I don't intend, am I perhaps mistaken on that true common denominator, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think that it's a constant process, and it's a constant checks and balances. Mm-hmm. And it's hard. Like, you can find yourself wrapped up in an echo chamber and not even have realized that it was there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Janice, what you're saying, something about passion and like people who are passionate. I feel like I've experienced this, like walking through some of these things of echo chambers. Well, like echo chambers mean that I might be blinded to some other perspective. And I feel like social media has really, oh my gosh, just does not help this whole situation. And honestly, I ask myself a lot about social media because I'm parenting my kids through an age where social media is just the form of communication and the way to express yourself, the way to tell others who you are. And I feel like I need to get a good grasp on it before I let them have social media. Like thankfully they're not to the age where they can have social media yet in our family.
Yeah.
But I feel like with the passion deal, it gets me so wound up when people are like caught in a cycle where all they do is post articles about this one thing that they're really passionate about. That's great. I am so excited that you're passionate about one or two things. Like we all should.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I am passionate about things that other people are not passionate about. But here's the catch, is that when we expect others to be so as passionate as we are about that one thing, and this is what gets us caught up into echo chambers, because when we see that other people are not as passionate about this, topic or injustice or whatever, then we automatically write them out because we say, you don't get it. Like, this is a really important issue and you're not addressing it on your social media. So like, you're not doing enough. And this is why I hate this.
Oh my gosh.
I get caught in the enough cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, when I walk away from social media, I'm not enough in that person's eyes, in that person's eyes, in that person's eyes. I can't measure up to that person because I'm not the same level of passionate about what they're passionate about. And it's almost kind of like you post something and you're going to get flack for it, or you don't post something and you're going to get flack for it. Because in their eyes, you're not doing the right thing because you're not as passionate about this thing as I am. Mm-hmm. And that is so unhealthy.
That is so accurate.
I mean,
so accurate, but also so unhealthy. And these are how we get so trapped in these echo chambers, is because we put ourselves in an echo chamber where people are as passionate about this bill, this view, this amendment, this whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you don't show any inkling of passion that I do towards that, like, who are you as a person anyway?
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's so hard because passion is so deeply rooted in people that even if you try your hardest to match the passion of someone else on an issue, there's a very good chance it's still not going to be enough for them. Like, no matter how much you post on social media, then it's, well, if you're posting on social media and you're not out actively doing anything about it, then that's worse than not saying anything. And so I think when we get caught up in trying to match someone's passion is so individual and so attuned to each person that we almost set ourselves up for failure from the beginning. And I just think that's a very difficult, I think there's no way for a win-win situation when your internal drive is to meet someone else's expectations of you.
Right.
And I think sorry, go ahead.
And also too, I think that, it's always been that way. There's always been people that have had, and really when you get down to it, it's like they're called to be maybe passionate about that particular thing.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be used to hopefully to make some difference. I was sitting here thinking, and it's like, back in the revolutionary times, there were a group of men that were very passionate and came together and did that. But I bet if you went through all the colonies, everybody wasn't feeling that way.
Yeah.
And we know that because there were people who, sided with the British, so it's like that has always been that way. And but with social media, it's in our faces all the time. And it opens a door for, as we all know, all the comments and all the stuff. And so that, like you said, Jess, it's like, if you say something, you're going to get it. If you don't say something or do something, you're going to get that. And then because that person is so convinced that they are right.
Yeah. And you almost, echo chambers, when I see someone, whether it's on social media or just face to face, who's very passionate about a subject and they have, I think passion goes like, you almost have a passion with an echo chamber around it, because I cannot stand confrontation. It makes me uncomfortable. Like, it makes me sweat. I don't like it when people are upset with me. I don't like being upset with people. And when I am approached by someone who's very passionate about something, I almost don't even want to approach them on the subject for fear of creating that confrontation. And so I think we can, with echo chambers and with passion, we can make ourselves like very unapproachable to people.
Yes.
And that can lead to a lot of loneliness. And that just builds to your echo chamber.
Yes.
Like that just adds bricks. And then it's 3 times taller than you. And making yourself unapproachable, you also cut yourself off to receiving any outside
and
opinions.
It reinforces your echo chamber.
And so I think that it can get really dangerous when, like, it's great to have passions. And like Janice said, you could be called to your passion, and that could be why it's a passion. But it's also, it gets very dangerous when you cut yourself off from others based off of your passion.
Yeah.
Whether intentional or not.
Well, and let's be honest, nothing gets accomplished by yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
True.
We were designed to do life together.
That's right.
And I'm not saying that has to be like, we have to have 17 million people on our side. But when we're barring ourselves off in this echo chamber and we're excluding every opposing view, then we're ultimately, like you said, creating loneliness, which just feeds into the whole societal thing that we deal with, like anxiety and depression and all of that. But talking about passion has me thinking of 2 words that we can kind of discuss on. And that is empathy and timing. Because I feel like empathy has a lot to do with echo chambers, because the reason we get caught in them is because I feel like we lack empathy for other people. Another way of putting that is we have a hard time putting ourselves in other people's shoes.
Right.
And seeing things from their view.
Yeah.
So we can talk about empathy, but also timing. Here's my other thing with timing is, if we're going to work together, we have to trust in the timing of people coming around to, I'm going to say it this way, my idea. If I'm passionate about this one thing, then is the way that I'm advancing my passion, inviting other people along on a journey, knowing that they haven't discovered and learned everything yet, but there might be a time where they do. Because what I feel like is like what I've experienced with like, oh, well, what you're doing is not enough. I'm going to use the Uvalde shooting as an example. So there's always a lot of passion that comes out of things like school shootings, as there should be. It is so heartbreaking.
Absolutely.
But on the timeline of posting and social media and everything, I mean, I'm sure you've seen these things that, like, the social media cycle is everybody posts how devastated they are. Everybody posts, my prayers are with you. And then we get into political wars and then everybody forgets about it.
Yep.
I mean, we see this cycle with every tragic thing that happens.
Right.
Timing in this is that and these are the questions that I ask, is when I experience an emotion like devastation or tragedy, and to where I am feeling, I'm empathetic for the moms and the dads and the teachers and just everybody that was involved. Where is the grace and the timing to process something like that and to go on a journey to build my passion and know what to do about it? Because I feel like what happens is like 24 hours after something like that happens, it's like, well, shame on you. Blame because game. You're not contacting your senators talking about the Second Amendment, and shame on you because you didn't post this, or you didn't help this foundation, or you didn't reach out to help with them, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
When really, I think that it would benefit and help others if we just almost like, I know for me, like I don't post anything in those instances because what I want to do is I want to absorb my feelings about it. I want to absorb the tragedy and the devastation I feel, and I want to take it to God about it, because he's going to guide me and direct me in where my passion should go and how to pray, because I think people downplay the huge step it can be to pray. I think people downplay just like, okay, sitting with an emotion and just asking God, what do I do about this?
Yeah. I think part of that is it's so uncomfortable that we want to get away from it as fast as possible.
Right.
Like devastation is not comfortable.
No.
And it's going to be a process. Like learning to sit in your devastation is something that will take a lot. It's going to be a process. And once you do, like I even struggle with it. That's why I can't stand confrontation, because I don't like the emotion being there, and I just want to like get rid of it as soon as possible. But like you said, it's undervalued how important it can be to sit in that devastation, which sounds like the last thing you'd ever want to do.
Yeah, because it is uncomfortable, and because it's almost like what you're talking about, that cycle is like, oh, I did what I was supposed to do. You know, I posted this, I did that. Okay, I'm done. I'm a good person. I've done all that I need to do. You know, this person over here, you didn't post anything. You didn't make a comment. You didn't do anything. You know,
so you must not care.
Yeah. So you must not care. And which of course is just that whole, I'm right, you're wrong, you know, because you didn't do it the way I did it.
Right.
You know, and I think you're right. Those things are really uncomfortable, and it's easy just then to pass on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And that's not right, because as a culture, then we're just like numbing ourselves out.
Yeah.
You know, and therefore then when someone is in a position like that, then we're like, what's wrong with you? Why can't you just get over it? Why can't you just, you know, deal with this quickly? You know, I did. Why are you still sitting in that? Yeah. And I think we have such a need for thoughtful processing. To be able to then come forth with something that's intelligent.
Yeah.
Rather than just, you know, it's almost like it's very reactionary. It's just
it's regurgitating. Well, I feel like that is what I see all the time, which is fine. I understand that there are people that put words together a lot more eloquently than I do.
Yeah.
But it bothers me. Like, and I love finding quotes. I'll take quotes. I'll read excerpts from books, and I'm like, gosh, so good. But what I don't do all the time is post it and tell people that they should think that this thing is as good as I thought it was.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that is putting unrealistic expectations on people. And what happens is, like with the echo chamber effect, is that we end up getting, like if we post something like, oh, this quote, I don't think it's bad to like post something like that, but like, you know, to prove a point is what I'm trying to say, like, or a news article. oh my gosh, have you ever been at the brunt of a text where you've been like, you don't agree with this one person and they like casually send you articles?
Oh my gosh.
That
I'm sweating
can I
thinking
just
about
say
it.
that like that never ever convinces me to understand your side. If anything, what's going to make me understand your side is empathy, compassion, allowing me the space to process, being a safe person that I can bounce ideas off of, and you're not going to, you know, excommunicate me from your life.
Yeah. I think one reason we really struggle with empathy when it comes to echo chambers is because if I'm right, then it serves me no purpose to put myself in your shoes because I already know that I'm right.
Right. And my job is to convince you of that and get you to look
so
like
if anything, you should be empathetic towards me so that you can understand where I'm coming from and that you can be like, your eyes can be open to all things good. And so I think with empathy, it's not natural when you're in an echo chamber to feel the desire or the need to empathize with people. And that, again, can create a lot of loneliness and a lot of disconnect from the world. Because empathy is what you can form really strong connections with people through empathy.
Yeah, I know. Last night, it was my Bible reading plan that I have. I'm in Proverbs right now. And it was just kind of interesting. I came across two that I thought were just really great. It says, fools have no interest in understanding. They only want to air their own opinions. That's Proverbs 18:2. And then a little bit farther down in that chapter, it says, intelligent people are always ready to learn. Their ears are open for knowledge. And that's Proverbs 18:15.
That's good.
That's funny that you mentioned that because I was actually looking at Proverbs 14:8, and it says, the wisdom of the prudent is to give thought to their ways, but the folly of fools is deception. We don't want to give thought to our own ways. I mean, we don't want to analyze our ways because they either lock us up or they're just really hard to deal with. And it's hard to know what to do with your way. But the fool or the folly of fools is deception. And that's how we get like deception, like even what we talked about that Sunday that we kind of mentioned echo chambers was deception. It really is like, that's the danger of an echo chamber is deception. We find ourselves in deception, and not only just any deception, self-deception.
Yeah.
Which is really hard to see.
Very hard because self-deception. I mean, like we're blinded. We're blinded to ourselves. We're blinded to our own desires. We think that our desires will get us where we want to go. But Jeremiah, I mean, like we make our desires come from our heart and feelings. And like just what we were talking about earlier is like sitting in feelings. I feel like over the past 20 years, probably, I'm not a feelings person. Like I would rather be analytical with facts than feelings. Like I just avoided feelings a lot of my life. And a lot of that has to do with like my upbringing and maybe some like people I hung around or the way that I was raised. Like I didn't want to dive deep into those feelings. So I did a great job at shoving them out to the perimeter and not really engaging with them. And what I've found is probably the last 5 years, so much growth has come out of embracing the feelings, asking God about them, sitting on them, crying, crying. Just a super wise person told me one time that sometimes like crying our tears can be worship. And I love that she said that because I was like, sometimes I just don't know what to say or what to do or why I feel this way, but I do have tears. And so God, my tears are my worship today.
Yeah.
And I don't know what you want me to do with them, but I'm listening. Please show me and show me what to do about the tears.
Yeah.
And show me that the things I experience, like, and the things that I'm passionate about, the things I want to go for are enough to you. Because so many times in culture, we're told that we're not enough.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I was thinking this week too about that idea of self-deception that we think we're right, and how it permeates everything.
Yeah.
You know, I was driving over here this morning, and I got stuck behind someone who was going slower than the speed limit. And so I immediately flipped into what is wrong with this person?
I'm just saying you're not wrong in that situation.
I know, but on the other hand, it's like, I don't know what's going on with them, but it was like, whatever, you know, I mean, think about silly things like, this is the way a kitchen needs to be organized. What was that person thinking?
Yeah, that's me.
Why would they load my dishwasher like that?
Oh
Thank you. Right?
I just got on Jordan about that.
You know,
just like lays the bowls flat, and I'm like, there's like prongs in here if you're like prop it, you know?
Right? But I mean, when you think about it, you say, oh, that's kind of silly. But you know, I remember when my late husband and I got married. He had lived on his own for a long time, so had I. And we got, oh my gosh.
And
he loved to.
You have already discovered the way life works best.
Right. And that probably was the thing that we had to work on the most was like, and it was like, I remember I got to the place where it's like, you organize the kitchen the way you want because you're the one who's doing most of the cooking.
Yeah.
You know.
It's music to my ears.
But it was hard because it was like, where is this thing?
Yeah.
Oh, it's not there anymore. You know, okay. All right. We have one towel for drying our hands and we have one towel for drying dishes. I had never done that before. And he was absolutely abhorred that I had never done that, you know, because that was the right way to do it. And, but that's the thing. You
had to figure it out.
Yeah. And so that means that if we do that, for example, in those kinds of relationships, then how much more do we still have to do it with our relationships and with all of our relations, whether it's at work, or whether, you know, it's in, you know, if we're in a church or we are, you know, our neighbors, you know, how, you know, looking at someone, your neighbor and how they're raising their kids and how you're raising your kids and all this sort of thing. It's really difficult to not just say, oh my gosh, they are so completely wrong.
Yeah.
And not saying that there aren't things that are wrong. I mean, if you have a neighbor who is, you know, abusing their children or something, you know, or whatever.
Right.
That's different. You know, we're not doing that. And I think too, the other thing is that many times when you talk about echo chambers, I think that in the church, we can get real echoey. Okay. Yep. Yes, I went there.
Yep.
Because, and I remember one time, this was a number of years ago, that a sermon here was like, you know, look at your friend list. Look at your contacts in your phone. And if they're all people from church or all Christians, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's very, very easy. And it's also very dangerous for us to look at the world and judge the world and say we're right. Because there is an element of that saying, yes, we do have the truth.
Yeah.
But what, you know, Jesus was like, he was with people all the time who were different opinions.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to get very inward as a church in the church Christian community to become, I just want to be around Christians. I just want to be, and there is a valid reason for that. We need to be in community, but we can't just be navel gazing. We need to be going out.
Yeah. And I think one thing that practically helps me when it comes to, because I'm a 2, an Enneagram 2, and I love, providing for people. I love pleasing people.
Wait a minute.
I can't stand. I'm a 2 wing 3.
She's like me.
When did we make this decision?
I don't know. I used to be an 8. I was an unhealthy 8.
I for real thought you were a 3.
I'm a 2 wing 3. Sometimes I'm like more 3 than 2, and sometimes I'm more 2 than 3.
Okay.
But I go by both. But one thing that I always have to ask myself is my obligation in my mind for this other person, or is my obligation to please God and to act in the way that he's called me to and to be a light for this person? And so I think when we get wrapped up in, well, you're wrong and I'm right, our obligation is not to change the minds of people around us or change their hearts, because that's only something that God can do. Yeah. You're going to waste your time. our obligation is to God, and our obligation is to reflect his love for us onto other people and hope that that does the trick.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to pleasing people or gaining approval from people, I mean, it probably runs through my head 87 times a day is who right now in this situation, who is my obligation to? Because if it's the person sitting across from me and it's not based out of an obligation to God, then I'm led astray at some point. And that's been really hard as someone who loves pleasing people and doing and just receiving, like, that's one thing that I just love is just receiving like approval from people and doing what I need to get it. And it can get really, really dangerous and unhealthy. And so that's just something practical that I've had to employ is just like, where is my obligation right now?
Yeah, that's good. I think for me, I think a lot about the Galatians 1:10 verse, like, am I now trying to please God or am I trying to please man? I think like always, like you said, always our obligation is to please God. But we're also commanded to serve one another, and we're commanded to love one another. Yeah. And we're commanded to like love people more than ourselves. And so in kind of, walking through life, I think that my obligation also needs to be the other person. Yeah. But wrapped in some caveats here, because I need to put others above myself and my needs and my wants. I mean, like, I'm talking like in general. I'm not talking about boundaries. Like, we will get into boundaries. Yeah. But I need to like look with eyes at the person in front of me. Like you said, like what we do is we dehumanize people because we boil them down to a set of beliefs or values. Yeah. And we forget to see them as a person. And I think what we're called to is to see people as people. Yeah. We're to see people like God created them because he did. We're to see people as image bearers of God. And the second that we stop doing that is the second that we start making it all about us. And so walking through life, I always have to think like my obligation is to serve God, but because my obligation is to serve God, that means I also have to serve people. Love God, love people. And so in my loving people, I need to make sure that I am putting them before me. Yeah. I'm loving my neighbor as I love myself. And then if something arises to where it's like where I'm not honoring God in serving that person because I'm like manipulating who I am in order to make them happy, that's not what I mean by like putting others first. Right. What I mean is like looking at them with the eyes that God sees them through. And I have to pray through this. Like, God, give me eyes to see them like you do. Right. Eyes to see them like you do. Yeah. Because so many times I don't. And I look at them like they have 4 eyes. Like, what? Why do you think that's smart? Right. Yeah. And I always have to remember, look at them. God, give me eyes to see people like you do. Because I want to serve that person. Because I'm serving you, I need to serve that person too. And so I think that's where the empathy comes in, is like putting myself in their shoes, like the slow driver. The slow driver. Yeah. We don't know what's going on in their life. Right. They could be having the most horrible day of their life. And for someone to show me a little bit of grace and compassion on one of my most horrible days in my life, would mean so much to me. Right. Yeah.
Well, I was thinking, I was reading this scripture recently where it's, where Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount says that, you heard it said, love your neighbor, hate your enemies. I'm telling you to bless your enemies, to pray for them, love your enemies. And, and he took me to that scripture because I was complaining to him in my journal about some people. And he was like, yeah, but this is what you need to do. And I mean, and so I started to write out prayers for these people. And I found all of a sudden just this compassion welling up inside me that I was weeping over them as I was praying, because I realized they are so broken. Yeah. There's so many things that I don't understand and things that I know about their lives and things like that. But that's why, it was like God gave me a little glimpse, like you were saying, help me to see them with your eyes, Lord, rather than just my own, because mine are just not clear, and, because God sees their heart. I can't,
right.
But he can help me understand their heart and give me a glimpse of it. And that's the empathy that we've been talking about. But also it's, again, that's when you do that, then it's like, okay, I need to take it all in rather than just get my blinders on and my tunnel vision and just tell myself that I'm right and they're just totally wrong.
Well, and that tunnel vision makes you think that the way to serve others, the way God's commanded you to, is to teach them your ways. And so it's like, I'm doing them it makes you think that you're doing them a service by helping them to understand like the right way. Mm-hmm. But that is more self-serving than is God serving or people serving. Mm-hmm. And that is just another one of the many tricks that an echo chamber will play on you. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like, well, I can really help my neighbor by teaching them that like Christians do not do that. Or that is not how you should run your marriage. Or that is not what you should be doing when you're raising your kids. But that is way more self-serving, because I bet if our neighbors did things that we liked or how we would do them, we would like our neighbors more. And so in serving others, it's not teaching them how to be more like you or teaching them the right way that you believe. It's like you guys said, just having the empathy and the time and giving people the grace and compassion that we've been given.
Yeah. I think that what that had me think of is like with my kids, or I guess even me. I know, like I had a mentor in high school, and I know that my parents appreciated that I had a mentor because they knew that mentor was telling me the same things that my parents have been telling me for 15 years.
Right.
But she said it once and it stuck. Mm-hmm. And my parents said it 75 times and it didn't stick.
It's an amazing thing that happens. Yes. It really is.
And so what this has me thinking is that when we try so hard to suck people into our echo chambers and to get them to see our view, to be as passionate about the stuff that we're passionate about, that how much more would it stick for them and make a difference in their life if we left that job up to God to do in their life? Because when God teaches someone something, he can change their whole entire trajectory.
Yeah.
We can be an agent in helping in that way, but often it doesn't come from words.
Yeah.
A lot of times it comes from time and action.
Yeah.
And so that's what I always think about, like with the compassion and the level of empathy, is I might be sitting here trying to convince that person to come to my side or to see how I see. But if I trusted in God's sovereignty, and if I trusted that God was as big as he says he is and as powerful as he says he is, then I know that one word to that person from God can change their way of thinking.
That's right.
So next time I get caught up and get my feathers all like
ruffled.
Is
that it?
I was going to say scuffled, but I definitely ruffled. Thank you. Then why, like, can I just sit back and, like, this goes along with the timing. Can I just sit back and rely on God to teach that person what he wants them to know in his timing?
Yeah. It's hard, especially when it's someone that you love.
Yes.
Like that is just timing is something that you just want to throw out the window when it's someone you love.
Or like someone who's a brand new Christian and they want to go to every one of their friends and every one of their family, and they just want to, I just need, you need to convert right now,
gosh, I was
and I was too. And
it's just a passion. I mean, like when God gives you the Holy Spirit, I mean, you need to let people know, but not in a judgmental way. I mean, I was like a Bible thumping, like to all my brothers and to my parents. My parents were probably so tired of me and like did not want anything to do with the God that was my God, because they're like, geez.
Yeah, right. And I remember at some point reading something that, like all brand new Christians need to be locked away for like 6 months.
Yeah.
Like kind of educated a little bit before we set them loose on the world. But that's kind of the same thing, is that it's the passion. It's, it's like, oh my gosh, I want you to have this. I want you to think this and all. And, because, I was singing here as we were talking and thinking that someone could say to us, well, you as Christians live in an echo chamber because you think you know what's right. Well, I think what you touched on was so good in that it's not with words or Bible thumping, or whatever, or just, haranguing at people and sending them Bible verses and saying, repent and all that. But instead, it's just that walking out of life.
Yes.
Yeah.
And demonstrating the love of God towards them, and being, like the old saying that you may be the only Bible that somebody reads. It's, in other words, you live it, and you just live it out in front of them, and you just get consistent, and you just do those things.
Yeah.
And that's the heart of God.
Yeah. And can I even tag this onto it? I would say 99% of the time that happens quietly.
Yes,
that's good.
In the quiet
absolutely
moments, over a long period of time. I think in our fast-paced world, social media, my life is in front of everybody. We think it happens instantly because we see things that are viral, and we can post something and it immediately has 10,000 views or whatever. But as far as an obedience to the Lord, I feel like we need to understand that it's more of a long, slow process. And so many times we think it's going to be quick, but in our walking out of our salvation, that's like another word for sanctification, and God refining us, can we look into ourselves and say, it has been 20 years before I learned this one thing about God. Can I have that same sort of view, an ounce of compassion for someone else, to know that we might be able to spot something in their life? And it really comes from our passion, because so much of me wants so many people to know the ways that God has worked in my life.
Yeah.
And over the years, it's been kind of a struggle trying to figure out how to let people know.
Yeah.
And what started with Bible thumping and verse giving and righteous judging and all this stuff has kind of turned in over time, 20 years of just God saying, just walk with me.
Yeah.
Just walk with me slowly and surely and quietly and humbly. Just walk with me.
Right.
And I have probably seen the most fruit come out from being okay with it, not being blasted everywhere. In fact, I want the opposite now. Social media, I don't really like it that much. I don't really flock to it that much, because there's just not the long value that people can see with social media. And it so if I am determined that that's not my audience, then what my audience is the people that I do life with and see me on a regular basis, and not to touch too much on boundaries. That's who gets access to my life. And that has a lot to do with our boundaries and our circles and what we post and what we withhold and how we approach and all this, and which we're going to be talking about probably the next episode, is boundaries.
Yeah.
But a lot, I love this phrase, long obedience in the same direction.
Yeah. That's really what walking with Jesus is.
Long obedience in the same direction.
And I think just trust that when you're walking with God, you're going in the right direction, even if you don't see fruits immediately. Because that's really difficult too, is long obedience in the same direction doesn't mean that you'll get little pieces of fruit along the way, little chunks here and there to keep you going and give you energy.
Yeah, it's not like a video game.
Yeah. Right. But it's trust in that process, and trust that so long as I'm walking the path that God has designed for me, there will be fruit. And I don't know when it's going to come. I don't know what form, but I have an obligation to God, and I am going to be okay with that.
Yeah.
My last proverb I found, because I felt like it kind of tied into this so much, is people may be right in their own eyes, but the Lord examines their heart. Proverbs 21:2. And I was thinking, when I read that last night, I was thinking about, the scripture that you shared, Jess, of saying, search me. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, I would say that probably most of us don't do that every day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mine's more like
Psalm
search
139.
Me, but like, don't be mad.
Show me where I'm wrong, but don't be mad.
But like, forgive me ahead of time.
Yeah, but not too much, right?
Right. Not too
like
deep.
Just
not
the surface.
Yeah,
like just what I'm ready to show you right now. We'll get to the other stuff later.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Don't show me that I'm unforgiving towards those people, and now I have to pray for them and love them. But that's really that's an antidote to thinking that you're always right, to being self-deceived, to being in an echo chamber.
Yeah.
Because when you say, God, search me, then he is going to put his finger on, you're shutting this view out, you're doing whatever.
Yeah.
And really, how in the world can you really know that what you're thinking is right if you don't look at other issues, other people's opinions, or other things that are out there? Because that's how you examine it and come to a conclusion. And if you're so threatened that I can't possibly look at anything else, then that's not good either.
Right.
And so it's like, search me, Lord. Just search me, because I can't see it. I know I can't.
And developing a foundation that allows you to be okay with being wrong. Mm-hmm. Like when you have a foundation in Christ and someone disagrees with whether it be like your passion or a post you put on social media, like, I'm okay with being wrong in your eyes, or I'm okay with being wrong, because if I'm wrong, that means that there's something right that will be better for me in the long term. Mm-hmm. And just having that foundation to be like comfortable with being wrong, or comfortable with being devastated, or like feeling those emotions. Because if you don't have the foundation, like, I wouldn't want to do that without a foundation. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm content not feeling my emotions and being right. Yeah. When I don't have a foundation, I think that's a big crucial part of being okay with being wrong, and is just having that, like, developing that relationship and that foundation. Yeah. Which so also takes time.
So good. Echo chambers, they're no joke.
Echo.
Echo.
Well, we're glad that you joined us and tuned in and watched this or listened to it. We have an exciting season ahead. Yes. So you're going to want to be sure to come back every week. We're going to have a new podcast dropping for a little while every week. So be sure to come back. And if you have any ideas of what you want to hear on the podcast, or what things that you want to, hear being talked about, go ahead and email inspired@thex.church and we will reply.
That's right.
But guys, we will see you next week.
Yes.
All right.
See you then.
See ya.
Thanks so much for listening. Our hope is that everyone who hears these episodes, near or far, would know that the invitation at our table is always open. You might not be sitting at this table, but our desire is that you would join in on these conversations. So if you were inspired by today's talks, send us an email at inspired@thex.church. We'd love to hear your thoughts, stories, and questions. And as always, don't forget to rate and review wherever you listen to podcasts.